We're live early tonight because football's back.
Hell yeah.
I was told that we have to be on early. We got to be quick because it's a big game on tonight. That's all. Is that true? I'm Canadian, so I don't know what's going on.
You could have that machine that does all the voices, but
I can do it myself.
You could. All I heard before the show was this.
Hey. Remember the time Bobby tackled the referee by mistake?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. How about the time he tackled the guy from Louisville and threw him into the stands?
Y'all remember when he intercepted the ball and his pants fell off and then he ran for the touchdown bare ass?
Remember the time Bobby Boucher on the field, quarterback wrong way, réclamation from Bobby Boucher time?
Remember when Bobby Boucher showed up at halftime and the Mud Dogs won the Bourbon Bowl, Giulia?
Football is back, baby.
those people remind me. Never mind, I'm not going to go there.
No, by all means.
No.
This is an open space.
It's a clean show.
No, it's not. It's not an open space any longer.
I was hoping. Well, we're going to go off tonight a little bit. There's a few things that we're going to talk about that I know, Jones, you're going to speak very passionately about.
Jones is a real American.
Oh, and how? Let's say hi to the people. Juan, Dirty Frank, Mr. Beefy, Mr. Thompson, Platinum. And I think no Kirk tonight.
Damn.
That's okay. Gentlemen, how are you?
Good. Here.
I can't complain. One more day till Friday.
I've got very light schedule tomorrow, so I'm happy. Back to work this week. Jones, you had a busy week. You were telling us before, so let it out tonight. This is your time to really vent and get anything off your chest that you want to. Okay?
Yeah, Jones. I've done 2 hours of work so far this week.
Wow.
Total.
Lucky you.
At my job.
Just got to rub that in, eh, Joe?
I'm just saying. I mean,
I'm
not happy about it, because I'm bored. I want to do stuff. What's up, Kirk?
There he is. A little late. It's because we threw you off. That's our fault. So, Michael, Joseph, what do you want to talk about tonight?
There's a few topics.
There are.
Just pick the topic and
I'm fired up.
Depending upon where you go, it may get a little.
I'm fired up for a couple.
Yeah,
let's
start
amplified.
Should we spicy? Should we start spicy? Yeah. All right. Yeah. So it's no secret by now that Jones's favorite wrestler of all time, the man, the myth, the legend, the icon, the savior of TNA wrestling, Hulk Hogan.
Got him their highest ratings ever.
That is a fact. Was on Logan Paul's Impulsive podcast this week and said a few things. Where do you want to start? I think let's start with, we want to start spicy. Let's start with the spiciest comment, shall we?
If Chris Benoit can do the crap he did and the fans still love him, they're very forgiving. I've made some major mistakes in my personal life, and they're very, very forgiving, but they forgive you. But
how many happy dogs has he had so far during that show?
Is that the only clip, or we got multiple clips?
Oh, we've got multiple, but we got
to let them all play, and then I'll attack them. Because that way it's out the way.
But you got to realize, bro, this is not a work, okay? This is a shoot.
What?
The business is a shoot. Everybody's going to tell you it's a work. It's not a work.
What do you mean?
The business is a shoot.
I don't know if I understand
If I
the
wrestle
terms.
you right now,
Yeah.
and Vince pays you $1 million and he pays me $5 million, is that a work or a shoot?
I don't know. I don't think I know the terms.
Let him explain it.
Oh, you don't know the terms?
A shoot? What is shoot? I know a work. What is a shoot?
Explain it to our audience at home quickly that doesn't understand.
I blew it.
No, shut up. He's going to explain it to the audience. Logan,
No, stop.
Logan knows what this means.
No.
Logan knows what it means, but maybe just explain it to our audience at home.
One more.
You're probably on.
I thought Bill Goldberg destroyed his career, but
do I like Hulk Hogan? No, I don't. I think he's a phony piece of shit.
So was Hogan saying he wrestled Brett and Crockett?
that's
Yes.
what he was saying.
I don't think. I don't think Brett ever wrestled for Crockett.
I don't think he did either. And there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot more that Hogan said on this podcast. However, let's start from that first clip. Talking about Chris Benoit. I even hate uttering his name out loud. Who has ever said that they forgive Chris Benoit for what he did?
I've
heard people in the IWC comment on Benoit's wrestling ability, his legacy in the ring, but I don't think anybody has ever forgiven Chris Benoit for what he did to his family. And then to compare yourself and what you've done, saying, well, basically I can do anything because Chris Benoit murdered his family and he's forgiven. So I'm off the hook. Michael Jones, you look like you're in deep thought and contemplation. I'd like you to, I'm just checking in. Are you okay?
I'm okay. I'm just waiting for the green light because it's about to get ugly.
You got the green light.
I'm gonna call it Hoganism. Like, remember the facts that Hogan lied about? Like
which one?
Elvis Presley saw him wrestle. What was it? Or
he was going to be a bassist for Metallica.
Oh,
the George Foreman grill was actually supposed to be Hulk Hogan's. Those are just a few that I can remember off the top of my head.
But the Benoit situation. As a wrestler, I'm going to use what Paul Heyman said about Benoit. As a wrestler, one of the top 5 best he's ever seen in the ring. As a human being, F him. Basically. You know, I don't think nobody has forgiven or even, you know, like there's no words. Like, I cringe when somebody mentions, you know, like, oh, Benoit, you know, it's like,
this would be the only time that we ever mention him on this show.
Yeah, and I mean, and again, I'm gonna go back. You guys, if you haven't seen it, you got to watch the clip where Heyman talks about working with Brock Lesnar. He brings up Benoit because somebody kept saying to Heyman, your boy. And Heyman said, you know, and the dude kept saying CTE, and Heyman's like, I don't care about CTE. Because one man he could have chosen who lived and who, you know, he had an option. The others didn't. So, I mean, I don't know why Hogan brought up him. That's going to get played a lot of news. I mean, Hogan's just...
And using the word forgiveness or forgiving, there's no one on this planet that has forgiven Chris Benoit. Michael?
All right. This is going to be a little aggressive, so I'm apologizing in advance. If you don't like it, tune off now, but fuck him. Fuck his views.
Hey, you got thumbs
fuck
up.
everything he stands for. For you to have the audacity to say people are forgiving of that guy I don't even mention anymore. I was one of the biggest marks for him. He was my favorite wrestler at one point. However, when that day happened and the news came out, it was fuck him and anything he stood on. If they're so forgiving of him, why do you have to search, and why is it buried on the network, Peacock, or why does a blurb come up saying caution when any of his matches are there? You can't search for him there. It's never going to be a moment where he's forgiven.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry you had massive head injuries, but it is real. But you murdered your family. Fuck you. There's no way around that. And your dumb ass is talking about you deserve to be forgiven.
Oh shit.
You can't be forgiven when you already show you don't even understand why you should be forgiven. You're saying, "Oh, I didn't say anything wrong." If you don't feel it's wrong, why should you be forgiven for something you didn't even feel is wrong? I understand. I have my views, but again, it's fuck. Actually, it's not fuck Hulk Hogan. It's fuck Terry Bollea. Because you're a scumbag. There's no way around that one. Like,
remember on the
tell the
network?
truth for once. Like, please. Like, you're old. You claimed, like, I stopped drinking. Oh, blame it on the beers. Oh, I'm a born again Christian. But you're still doing stupid stuff. You're saying forgive him. I get it. This isn't about religion. I understand it is about they preach for forgiveness is preached upon. I'm not forgiving you. God forgives. I don't.
Mm-hmm. There you go, Ricky Rose. Okay. You know what's funny about that person is, remember on the network, say you go to 2004 Royal Rumble, you had the dots for each match. When you got to the Rumble match, there was no dot. Like,
yeah.
You know, I think Hogan's been in the news for like the past couple of weeks. When he was here in Ohio, promoting his Real American Beer, he threw a beer can to the crowd, hit the girl. And then this week, Logan's podcast, I feel like it's just Hogan does it to himself.
He's like Flair.
Yes. And I'm going to say this right now. I think it'll be funny as hell. I would watch it because it'd be funny in the comments. If Flair and Hogan had a podcast together, can you imagine?
You would need Snopes to fact check everything that they say. Because
let me get this piece of shit from behind me. Sorry.
No, but don't be sorry. Michael, don't ever be sorry. I think you worded it perfectly. And some of the people in the comments have touched base with what we're talking about, and talking about the wording is one thing. But okay, football starts today, and there's a lot of research that has gone into the NFL and former players with CEE. I don't know football like you got. CTE, sorry. How many football players have gone on to murder their families that had CTE?
Mm-hmm. They took their own lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they didn't. Yes. They didn't brutally murder their families. No. So to just blame CTE as the cause for what Chris did, or as an excuse, is fallacious. Because there has been a lot of research up until about last year that I think 92% of former NFL players who were analyzed in a February 2023 study, out of 376 brains were diagnosed with CTE. So this is something that's not unknown in not just the NFL, but a lot of professional athletes where there's contact, especially to the head. A lot of wrestlers that have also been diagnosed with CTE, and none of them have done this.
I remember the 30 for 30 on the Chicago Bears, the 1985 Chicago Bears. Because they were talking about a person on that defense named Dave Duerson killed himself. He had CTE. He killed himself. Jim McMahon, the quarterback from the Bears, and we knew how hard-hitting the NFL was back in the 80s. He was having like those type of headaches. And they showed in the documentary, a doctor, a neurosurgeon, whatever it was, brought him in, showed him, you know, he had liquid in his brain. They're like, yo. And they were just doing tests. Like, they were taking like this metal needle or metal like bar, just, you know, tapping his head and his neck. You know, it's not going to get rid of all of it, but it helps him. You know, it does whatever it can to, I'd say, negate it. Just alleviate it, all that. But I've never seen, with CTE, I've never seen a former sports player or anybody else do what they did to their family. It's always they took themselves out of the equation.
It's hard to find the words to talk about this, just because of how sensitive a lot of these issues are, and just without completely dragging Hogan through the mud or Terry Bollea through the mud. But Jones, honestly, I'm embarrassed to say that I was a Hulkamaniac growing up. The more this man opens his mouth, part of me wants to get rid of all of his memorabilia, just because I think he's a giant piece of shit as a human being.
I was a Hulkamaniac at one point, so it's real. However, I learned, moved forward, kept it going. Joseph Reiki is actually right. I have to think about that. Well, he did. That wasn't his own family, though.
Yep.
That was a different family. Not condoning it any, not saying it's any better, but still.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was just his comments about Chris. His comments about Brett, I find interesting, because for one, I don't ever recall them wrestling in Crockett. Jones and Joey, you guys are much more knowledgeable than I am. Did that ever happen?
I don't recall it.
No.
And he talks about how Brett hates everybody. I think it's funny when he says the things that he said about Bret Hart, considering how many people actually hate Terry Bollea, the person, even in his own family. Here's the thing. Hogan and his daughter don't talk anymore. They haven't spoken to each other in a number of years. His son recently had another DUI, and Hogan was there trying to bail him out. Bret Hart, on the other hand, talks to his children. Still a family man. And you can say what you want about Bret. You can say he's bitter. You can say he, doesn't get over things. You can say he is, just rambling and can't get over the fact that Bill Goldberg, fuck Bill Goldberg, ended his career. But there might be some truth to that. But at the end of the day, guess what, Hulkster? Guess what? Breaking news that just before the show started, Bret Hart will be joining the WWE on Monday Night Raw this Monday in the season premiere from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Now, Hogan claims that he signed a 5-year Legends deal, or whatever they're calling it these days.
Nostalgia deal or something.
Nostalgic deal. Yeah, I think that's it. I think they should settle it in the ring one last time.
The match we never got.
In the
Bring out the Wayne Eagle, have them tug on it.
I think it's a good idea.
Me and Nico are still looking for that picture. Like, I get why he says Bret hates. I mean, Bret has had his issues with Flair in the past, but Bret showed up to Flair's last match, and I remember when Flair said, like, that meant a lot to him. Like, they buried the hatchet. The Goldberg thing, I remember on Bret's DVD that he did back in 2005 for WWE, he said is someone as good-hearted as Bill Goldberg could do something like that. And mind you, when he gets older, stuff changed. I understand why he's still mad at Goldberg, because he kind of like ended his career. Because Bret was so passionate about being a wrestler. So, I mean, I could see why he'd still be mad, but
is an interesting comment. Yeah, Bret had no problem bashing.
Oh,
Triple H.
yeah. I was just
Absolutely.
gonna bring that up. He talked about, like, because they asked him about Triple H being in charge, and Bret was like, he never once had a good idea. So, I mean, maybe it's a different time.
I think it is, and not to kind of beat the dead horse, but with CM Punk coming back to WWE and kind of burying things and making amends, and
Jesse Ventura,
he
signed a Legends deal,
yeah,
I believe, and they're working on something big.
The fact that Vince McMahon is gone from this company is very telling. It's a new atmosphere. It's a new environment. It's a new WWE.
They asked Jesse about that. If Vince was still in WWE, would you have come back? And he said no.
I think you can say the same about Bret Hart.
Yeah.
And it's funny now with the documentary, the 6-part documentary coming out at the end of September. Hogan in the trailer is one of those people who was interviewed. And I guarantee you he's going to say nothing but good things about Vince. You're going to see a lot of sides, I think, to this Vince McMahon story. But I guarantee you Hulk Hogan is going to say everything positive. I'd be very shocked if he says anything negative about Vince.
It'll be interesting to see. 'Cause you're watching the trailer and you see interviews from Vince, Mustache Vince, and I'm like, this recent or is this before the allegations? Like,
To my knowledge, it was pretty much just before. It's when he was still with TKO. And then everything was brought to a halt with the allegations, and Netflix kind of had their backs up against the wall and they weren't sure what to do. But I think now that WWE is separated from Vince McMahon, I'm hoping that we get both sides to the story, both sides to the coin, instead of just saying, oh, Vince built WWE from the ground up kind of thing.
Let's see. Be interesting Monday night.
Well, it definitely will. But I'm wondering if Hogan's comments will have any repercussions. I doubt that they will. But Hogan's going to continue to be in the spotlight for good or for bad.
I mean, where's WrestleMania next year? What city? Vegas?
Vegas.
Yeah.
Last time WrestleMania was in Vegas.
Yeah. It'll be. We'll see what happens from this. But there's a comment a little bit earlier. I want to just touch base with this. Our friends over at Hannibal TV. What's Mandy Rose making on her OnlyFans platform these days? Is it still 500,000 a year like when she was in WWE? I don't know the figures these days, but I do know that Mandy Rose mentioned that if she were to come back to WWE, she would want to be wrestling on Raw or SmackDown only. Would she draw? I think so. I think she has a very big following, considering what her following on various social media platforms. And I think a lot of people would tune in to see if she came back to the E.
Especially if she was like a surprise entrance into the Women's Rumble.
Absolutely.
Even if it's just like a one-off or,
And when you look at the amount of female talent, we've talked about this for the last few weeks, the amount of female talent in WWE in general, but when you look at the up and coming stars in NXT, I know she doesn't want to wrestle in NXT. She spent some time there before she was let go, but there's a lot of female talent on all three brands that are going to carry the WWE for a very long time. And one of those is Giulia, who made her debut at No Mercy this past weekend, and we saw her on Tuesday night on NXT. I'm excited to see Giulia. I know you guys are as well. What's in store? What's in store for Giulia? What is the WWE universe going to see from her, in your opinion? What does she bring to the table?
She is the table.
Man, she's a star.
Yeah.
A lot of people may not know this. She was trained by Io Shirai's sister. I mean, the pop she got, like, at No Mercy. I mean, even, like a couple months ago at NXT, she was in the crowd, The thing I love about her is her eyes tell the story.
Yeah.
Like the fans chanting for her, and she's just looking around, like the eyes just captivate it all. And like even when she's walking to the ring at No Mercy or NXT on Tuesday, the eyes just stare down, and like the way she walks, the presence. Mm-hmm. She has the total package. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they give her the belt right away. I think you will probably do that. You may have a disqualification just to protect her, but I'm telling you, this is a big... Giulia's a star. Some people may not know her because they're casual, don't really watch WWE a lot. But the fans that do watch wrestling know what she's about. And know what she brings to the table.
She's got a big pop even on Tuesday night. And the fans were chanting Giulia loud and clear for everybody to hear. Mike Jones, what are you looking forward to see with Giulia now in NXT?
Well, this was a proper time for her to be brought in. You got a big name that fans know very well going right into your CW deal. So you needed, like, the women's division is probably going to be the focal point on CW because she's a heavy hitter. She's like she's strong style personified in a female form.
She's the total package. Everything about her, from her in-ring ability to her looks to her wrestling ability, to her promo skills, she is the total package.
And we're still only in phase 1.
Yeah,
she may not speak perfect, proper English.
Her English is decent though.
That's pretty good. Yeah,
but she'll be. And I'm a big fan of Roxanne Perez, what she's been doing ever since she came back and being a heel. Like, Roxy to me is just... She's way different now than when she first got up there.
She's only like 22.
I know.
She's really young.
And she's being handed the keys to the kingdom. She was trusted to go against Jordan Grace. She's being trusted to go against Giulia.
Well, it's like Cora whenever Cora comes back. Like, Cora is very young too.
I was just going to mention Cora. Yeah.
Like Bedoy, she's from New Japan Stardom.
I'm surprised, speaking of AEW, I'm surprised they didn't try and gobble her up or grab her when she became available. This is arguably one of their biggest losses. Because I would have thought that Tony Khan would have wanted Giulia for his promotion. I'm happy she didn't sign with AEW, but I'm quite surprised that they didn't show much interest in her.
I think they wanted her, but because of who she's loyal to, they couldn't get her because of their affiliation with New Japan.
Mm-hmm. Tony Khan's throwing out big money these days.
but he left New Japan Stardom on bad terms.
And I think Giulia probably talked to EO possibly about it, like, hey.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, she didn't want to get that bag and follow Mercedes Moan?
Money isn't everything.
I guess not.
Exposure.
I guess not, because you can take the WWE route and, make your money and get that exposure for the next 10, 15 years and become a superstar, or you can sign that 5-year deal with AEW and make a shit ton of money and only work a couple days a week at best.
But you've also taken a chance of disappearing for months at a time in AEW.
Look at AEW's biggest signings in the last year. We've got Mercedes, we've got Okada, we've got Ospreay, and most recently, and it's playing into the angle that we saw on Dynamite this week, Swerve Strickland just signed a 5-year deal, apparently worth pretty damn close to what they're paying Okada.
You forgot one.
Who did I forget?
Jay White.
I forgot him for a reason, because I have not seen Jay White on my television screen.
He's been hurt, but even so.
That's right. So what do? Do you take that bag like Okada? Do you make that Okada money? Do you make that Swerve Strickland money? Because out of any of those guys that I mentioned or girls that I mentioned, Jones, I know you're not the biggest fan of Swerve, but I would argue that Swerve is the only person out of the ones we just mentioned who's really putting in the work.
So you're saying Ospreay isn't putting in the work?
Ospreay is. I take that back. Ospreay is, but the rest, Okada.
It's funny that Okada became what everybody said he was going to become in WWE.
Ospreay and Swerve are on our television, and they're really running with it. They're one of the only reasons why I tune in still to the product.
I'm sure Jay White is doubting himself signing with AEW.
He got victimized by that hiring freeze.
But Okada was supposed to be this big signing coming to America. AEW, American promotion.
He went with comfort.
I understand that, but like,
part of me can't fault him. But I'm looking at it like, it's always going to be that what if.
Okada is definitely a comedy act now, and
Juan is spot on.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. Saying or speaking in broken English and Japanese and saying bitch as your shtick, that gets old pretty quick.
It's like if WWE signed Shinsuke when they did and turned him into like Doink the Clown or something like that.
Something silly, yes, some comedy act. Because Okada in New Japan, he was larger than life. But that's not who we're seeing on Wednesday.
Maybe they're waiting for Kenny to come back to have that match, but come on, you could do Okada and Ospreay. Okada and Bryan.
But if you want to build up to Kenny, you need to make him look solid. You need to make him look like it's worth it.
No.
Now, Kenny will come back and like it's not worth fighting anymore.
And AEW does have a lot of young talent. And speaking of signings, I forgot one of the other most recent ones, Daniel Garcia, who showed up.
I heard he hasn't signed yet.
Yet he's back on our television, and he's likely going to sign. He doesn't do it for me. And then you look at the main event for All Out. You've got a guy like Jack Perry.
That's not the main event.
No. What's the main event?
Swerve and
Hangman for the title, at least. Bryan Danielson's not going to be losing the title at this point. But even if he were to hypothetically lose, Jack Perry's not the guy to take the company, to take the belt.
The whack Perry. I'm not watching anymore.
I just think with signing these big contracts for 5 years or whatever, there's a lot of controversy about whether or not this hurts the business.
I think we understand why Tony did it, so they don't go to WWE. But if you sign these wrestlers to big contracts, do something with them. You pay them big money. You're just gonna have them sit in catering, do nothing.
Sounds like an old tactic that was done before.
Mm-hmm.
This is history repeating itself. Absolutely.
But I'm the alternative.
Tony's pockets are deep with Daddy's money. Now, WWE's money is also much bigger than it was before, now that they've merged. But at the same time, they're not going to be handing out contracts, Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns size contracts to anybody.
I mean, WWE now is like, hey, you want to play big money now? Like, we can.
But it will be justified. If they're going to be signing someone to a big contract, they're not going to be throwing big money at a guy like Daniel Garcia or a guy like Jack Perry. Okada could have gone to NXT, but he went with his elite friends. And if you're friends with the elite in AEW, well, then you're going to get that push. And that's why we're seeing, I think, Jack Perry fighting against Bryan Danielson for the AEW title. But like you said, Jones, and thank you for correcting me, that's not the main event. The main event is going to be Hangman Adam Page versus Swerve Strickland, especially after what we saw yesterday on Dynamite. Now, the reason why we bring up contracts as well is because this is also playing into the storyline, right? Swerve was able to extend his contract with AEW, make that money, and buy his childhood home. The house that he grew up in. The house that he was raised in by his mom. That Hangman, evidently, at the end of the episode, poured gasoline and burned down.
It's the same house, but it's It's the backyard.
Yeah, it's just a different angle. A lot of people were quick to say, no, the pillars are wrong. If you actually look at the opposite end of the home. Joe, what's that face, buddy?
Watching this angle on TV the past couple weeks reminds me of an angle going on in WWE. Pretty similar. Reminds me of Punk and Drew a little bit.
It is a little Punk and Drew-esque. It also reminds me of Randy Orton back in 2017.
But I'm not a fan of Hangman. You know, like I was when AEW first started. I'm like, all right, you know. But it's just like
he's going against Swerve, so I'm a huge fan.
I liked him in Ring of Honor, and I've with everything that happened with Hangman, and just how his character kind of became stagnant. I didn't like him as an AEW champion, but I will say he cut a pretty good promo last night. And in terms of the storytelling, it's one of the better stories that AEW has told in a while. Now, Jones, are you actually saying that you want Hangman to beat Swerve at all?
Absolutely.
1,020%. Tell me more. How do you see this happening? How's it gonna play out?
This, I believe, it's an unsanctioned cage match.
Lights out cage match.
Yeah, lights out cage match. It's like Swerve is a star. Like they made him a star now. Kudos to him. But bring it back down. Hangman has always been their guy. Him with this edgier character, it's peak work for him. I hated him when he was champion because he was vanilla and bland. I thought it was too soon for him. He had some great matches during the run. I'm not going to take that from him. but I thought it was too soon when they gave it to him. He matured. He seems like he's matured since Punk is gone, or maybe he was just in his head so much that.
I think that's it. That's the vibe I'm getting. He seems like a different guy, and I hope that he can kind of regroup and that he goes on to do, if he does win the title again, has a better run than his first run. But it is a good angle, but yeah, going face and then heel and then face and then heel is very Big Show-esque.
I don't like these AEW pay-per-views that are like 2 weeks apart from each other. Like
I'm hoping that they learn and they stop booking All Out so close.
At least it was done 2 weeks this year instead of a week
Year. Like last year. But they got to extend it a little bit longer, because when you look at the card, I'm pretty sure this is the most recent card. You've got 8 matches. The Okada match is going to be determined on Friday Night Collision. For those of you who are going to tune in to Friday Night Collision instead of SmackDown, to find out who
the last SmackDown on Fox at that.
And that's it too. The last SmackDown on Fox before they go over to the USA Network. Any thoughts or comments about this card?
MJF and Garcia is going to be Statlander and Willow. They've been having a pretty good feud.
Mm-hmm.
Pac and Ospreay can show out.
Yeah.
Damn. My guess is Matthew and Nicholas get the belts back. I'm not really interested in Sheeta and Mercedes Moné.
It'll be better than the last match he was in.
And how? Sheeta will have to carry her.
Well, it's crazy how they're showcasing the TBS women's title more than the actual women's title.
Yeah. It's interesting that is not on the card. Mariah May is not defending it on the All Out pay-per-view.
There's nobody really built up to really challenge for it at this moment, though.
Could have saved her and what's her name?
Could have had a rematch.
Nyla. Yeah.
She just beat Nyla. Yeah. I don't know.
Doing the jade pin.
You guys gonna the jade pin? She could do the jade pin, or she could do the pretzel pin. Yes. Is that what it's called? The pretzel pin?
That's what she calls it. Yep.
Yeah. I'll just leave that up for a second. Wait for Mr. Beefy to see that, because I know that's why he watches. But are you guys going to be watching All Out this weekend?
No.
It's on Saturday.
That's a negative.
That's a negative. Wow. I'm going to try and tune in. There he is.
Say his name and he appears.
That's Joe's favorite wrestler.
I believe and say Mr. Beefy.
I do it for you guys. I do it for you guys. We didn't mention this when we were talking about the controversy with Hogan earlier, but this man here, who was getting a big push and was drawing huge numbers on social media platforms for the WWE with his work with the New Day, was fired this week for domestic abuse.
Has it been fully confirmed?
Oh,
well,
bad,
I was gonna say I didn't put that up.
I did that for you, Beefy.
Your finger slipped. Odyssey Jones. No, pun intended.
No relation.
What are your thoughts on Odyssey Jones? Because I know you were a fan.
This is really, really, really bad. This technically is still allegations.
Yeah. Did you see that Rich Swann thing came to light?
Yeah, I was saying it's along the lines of what happened with Enzo.
Yeah.
It's along the lines of what happened to Vince McMahon.
Or the Dream.
Or the Dream.
Velveteen
Well,
Dream.
they gave him multiple chances, so
yeah.
Technically, this is Odyssey's second chance as well.
Yeah.
So we're in a very, very, very interesting climate. I'm not condoning anything he was allegedly did, but if he did it, big man, you dropped the ball.
Yeah.
You were off TV for 2 years. You got drafted 2 years in a row. Didn't have to appear. You got yourself in. You shouldn't even been in a situation to even get like this. Like at this point, I can't. It's hard to put it into words, but basically, you're a jackass. This was your second shot. You were doing what you wanted to do. You
8
had a
million
huge
views.
debut. Like, not many people even knew who you were. He had some transphobic comments before in Twitter that popped up. So, yes, this was his second chance.
Mike, like you said, he was off TV for a long time. Gets his act together, so it seems.
Yeah.
And apparently these allegations are stemming back from July.
The allegations started in July. You debut in August.
Yeah. And at this point in time, it hasn't been released to the press whether or not he has been arrested.
Yeah. There's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah.
There's I've even seen things where people saying there's somebody else with the complete same exact name who did it, and it wasn't him.
Yeah.
However, it's still allegations at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It just looks bad. If you're proven innocent, cool. However,
yeah.
How did you get in this potentially in this situation?
I think even if he's innocent, I don't think WWE would bring him back.
You fired the creator of WWE.
Yeah, because there's too much risk involved.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. What has happened with Vince?
Yeah.
They're not going to be taking
and Brock Lesnar being kept away.
Yeah.
And Triple H can say whatever he wants about Brock is at home and he can come back. But I don't think that's entirely true until the Vince McMahon allegations are settled in the courts or in arbitration, or time has.
I mean, he's right. Brock could come back, but it's just
the timing is not now, especially when his name was, even if he has been cleared of whatever he was accused of, the time is not now. And you guys know that when this documentary is unveiled on Netflix, this is going to be the talk, not just in the IWC, but this is because Netflix is producing it, and because the director from what's it called, Tiger King, is behind this and is producing this. This is going to be in the headlines across every sport media outlet.
And I've already seen some inklings that the people in charge in WWE aren't happy that this document's coming out.
I think the
documentary. I'm sorry.
They don't have much control over any of this.
But what's crazy is the timing, because you have Raw coming into Netflix.
Yes.
4 months after.
And has anyone watched the trailer?
Yes.
I watched it today when it dropped.
There's a lot of interviews from people still employed right now.
Yes, sir.
So I'm curious how these are playing out.
This is going to, WWE is going to, whether it's good or bad press from this documentary, people are going to be talking about wrestling. They're going to be talking about the WWE. They're not just going to be talking about Vince McMahon, but I think the timing of it is impeccable. And
This
with them,
be a black eye.
Yeah. switching to Netflix come January. Yeah, we're going to see what happens over the next few weeks. And I'm sure we'll talk about it here on the show at the end of the month when the first episode drops. But the timing of it is all too coincidental.
You're going to need all the star power to try to fix what is about to happen.
And there's a lot of names that have not been revealed yet, that they are keeping hush, that they did not put in the trailer, that we are going to hear from family members and other wrestling personalities that are going to be talking about
Vince's
McMahon.
neighbor, Vince's lawn guy.
Juan, that's true. They were doing this documentary, and then the allegations came out, and then they were at a standstill. They had to halt everything. And
maybe they have an interview with Miss Grant's family.
So long as it doesn't impede anything that happens in the court case, yeah, I think we're gonna. I'm hoping that we're gonna actually see and hear a very honest telling of Vince McMahon, and you're not just gonna have guys like Hogan and Austin, for example, and The Rock just praise Vince McMahon for what he did for the business. I want to hear both sides of it. I want to hear the ugliness, because a lot of people are going to tune into this, whether or not they are fans of wrestling or not, because in our little world, in our little bubble, in the IWC and the communities that we're a part of, yeah, we like the product, we watch the product, but there's a lot of people out there that think wrestling is stupid, that think wrestling is phony, that think wrestling is just for children. But they know the name Vince McMahon, and whether or not they hate wrestling or not, or that they haven't watched it in years, there's going to be a lot of eyes on this documentary, and a lot of people are going to be talking about it for quite some time. And with the switch to Netflix come January, I don't think there's any bad press that's going to come for this, because WWE will arguably just say, hey, yes, Vince was part of it, but he's not with us anymore. That was WWE of past. That was Vince McMahon of past. And this is a new era. This is a new company. Kind of wash their hands of it as best as they can. But to your point, it's not going to look good when you've got guys like Triple H that are talking about his father-in-law, and he is the head of...
and you got Bruce on there too, Bruce Pritchard.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm all for it. I'm definitely going to be watching. It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
We're going to have an AI of Bruno Sammartino talking about Vince.
Maybe Vince's father will also make an appearance and talk about his boy. But should be a good documentary, nevertheless. I don't think they can, but by separating themselves and firing him,
Technically, they have, because you have to remember who Ari Emanuel is. He's a different type of beast.
he's not going to take any BS.
No.
Especially when it comes to anything related to sexual assault or any of these kind of allegations. He's not going to.
But he's also a ruthless business person too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll see the fallout, if any, after this is released. 6-part series, I believe they're about an hour each. So you're going to have 6 hours of Vince McMahon.
Wow, wow.
Put that into perspective. But
I mean, if you knew Ari, you knew what he was going to do with WWE. Same thing he did with UFC. Bought 51% of it. And then a couple years later, he took out the whole rest of the 49%. Same thing he did with WWE. Yeah. Once I got control.
Absolutely.
You could say we're partners, Vince, but guess what?
So for those who don't know who Ari Emanuel is, if there's any fans of Entourage out there,
Mm-hmm.
Ari Gold was loosely based upon him.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
He was a Hollywood agent.
Yeah.
He represented Rhonda, The Rock, a lot of people.
Yes, sir.
But I remember Dana White said, like, when the Fertitas were selling the UFC, he said, "Hey, the new owner wants you to stay on." And he's like, "Man, you know, I don't know if I would stay if I don't get along." And they're like, "Who's the new owner?" He goes, "Ari." He goes, "I'll stay." Because him and Ari get along great. You know, it's like two peas in a pod. But yeah.
Which is also interesting considering he still has a job.
Who?
Dana.
What did Dana do?
Slapgate.
Remember when he was his wife? He slapped his wife.
Oh, that was when
was it New Year's Eve?
No, that's when they were showing people how the power slap works.
Oh,
wow.
that was a promotion for his show.
Yeah, promotion.
Oh,
okay.
So that's why that happened. Okay,
interesting.
That was different.
Like you said, he got that pass, just like Hogan tends to get multiple passes because.
I was just thinking of this because we were talking about Vince. I'm like, it's kind of ironic that the two people who changed WWE, WWF in the 80s and early 90s, Hogan and Vince, you look at them now today, like, where those two? Shit.
Yeah. Kind of lost for words. I think we said everything we had to say about the Hulkster and his comments and
the Huckster.
The Huckster.
Yeah.
But it is
old, brother.
it is everybody.